Today, I'm joined by someone who has shaped the marketing strategies for some of the biggest names in estate agency. Simon Leadbetter has held top roles at Fine & Country, Countrywide and Knight Frank. And he's now helping businesses take their marketing to the next level. If you're a self-employed agent looking for smarter ways to attract clients, Simon is the guy you want to hear from. We're diving into the biggest mistakes agents make in marketing, the strategies that actually work, and where the industry is heading next. Simon, welcome to the show and thank you for joining me.
Thank you for the invite. It's good to see you.
Good to see you, mate. Let's get straight into it. You've transitioned from leading market giants like Countrywide and Knight Frank to founding your own business, We Are Unchained. What motivated the shift for you to take on self-employment? And how has the experience that you've gained over that period in the corporate world influenced how you consult and work with your agencies now?
That's a really good question. I think I probably had the best of both worlds over the last 30 years. I'm basically unemployable. I've run my own business. I've been self-employed since 2004, with periods of employment between and periods of employment before that. I like working with big companies because you get big toys to play with. Mm-hmm. Big budgets, big teams, big training, all those kind of things. And you really learn the kind of the benefits of size and what a big company can do, and you can experiment. Obviously, if you work for your own business, you've got cash flow, you've got more challenges, you need to be more prudent. But since 2004, when I started my first marketing agency, I've always liked helping a variety of businesses out rather than just working for one. So while I've worked for one client for a period of my career as an employee or as a contractor, in reality, the best bits of my life have been working with several different people, addressing their marketing problems. And the thing about We Are Unchained that I really want to set out to do is, if you work for one of those big corporates, and I'm a big fan of the brands that are out there, at least most of them, if you're an independent or self-employed, you don't have the advantages of a large corporation. You don't have those big budgets. You don't have those big teams. And if I can just give on a marginal, fractional basis some of that insight, some of that advice to smaller businesses, I feel I'm making a bigger difference. Because in my humble opinion, the independents and self-employed are often the best agents.
Brilliant. And I can see it. I can see it in the work that you're doing, how that is, being able to make an impact over a broader scale of dealing with people. It's great. So in a recent podcast, you emphasised that core marketing principles have remained unchanged despite technological advancements and all of these things around us. But could you elaborate on maybe how self-employed agents can balance traditional marketing strategies with the modern tools that are now available in line with some of these core principles?
Definitely. I mean, I bang the drum all the time. The principles of marketing are the principles of marketing. And probably the most important one to remember in the principles of marketing is understand your customer. Really know who you're for and who you're not for. So what are you doing all that marketing for? Who are you trying to attract? What is your magnet? And what is the person you want to attract with that magnet? If you have that in mind, and the content you're producing and the messages that you're sharing and the people that you're networking with, if they're all the right kind of people and you're thinking about their needs rather than your own, you will sell, you will close deals. All that technology has done has democratized things that were only available to large companies before. So if you wanted to do media, traditional media, you had to pay a fortune to be in it. Now, if you're in a garage with a mobile phone and the internet and a bit of social media, you can outcompete some of the biggest brands out there. And they are outcompeting the biggest brands out there. Lucasfilm very famously did a scene with a very famous person in The Mandalorian, and they produced some CGI and animation. It looked really good. Guy in a garage did a better job and now works for Lucasfilm. Right. So they spent millions on it. He spent a few hours on it and did a better job. So that's where we're moving to. Now, I don't think you need to be doing Lucasfilm style animation, but you've got a camera that's better than most cameras on your phone. And people want to see the authentic you. You know, people buy people, not corporations. And your personal brand really matters. So the big difference that's happened with technology is anyone can do that. And that means the self-employed has never been in a better place to make success.
No, I totally agree. And I think people can get blown away by those tools that are available, but that element of self-doubt can always crop in, that I can't do that as well, where actually you can, right?
We are what we do repeatedly. The first time you stand in front of a camera, it will feel bad.
Yeah.
And it's not, in these days with a mobile phone, you actually see yourself, which is sometimes even worse, because it's not just the eye of a camera pointing at you, which can really put you off. Actually, you see yourself. Yeah. But the guy is Matt England at PVS. He talked about covering up the picture of you. So you talk to the camera, but you don't see you. That's a really useful thing to do, and that's really good advice. But there's a reason why people have clapperboards and have takes for films, is most of the stuff ends up on the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
What you put out there can look polished. It may be your 50th take. Just do it. And ultimately, if you're really not comfortable doing it, that's also fine. Find someone who is, work with them and get them to do it for you, and focus on what you love.
And in full transparency, this is the second take of this question.
I may have fluffed. Lee,
Sorry,
I feel
mate.
betrayed. But
Straight
it
under
was
the bus.
a complete car crash the first time I answered that question. Thank you.
No problem at
But that
all.
was much better.
Yeah, well done, sir. Well done.
That was my first answer.
Cool. So look, I want to move into some practical things. So you run a wonderful course called 30 Years of Marketing a Day, which I've attended, and it was a fantastic experience. From your map of the world, what are the top 3 hacks from that course that somebody could apply in their business immediately?
Again, another great question, and I won't try and fluff this one. So AI is your friend. I mentioned that technology has made people more powerful than they've ever been before. AI has given you the writing skills of some of the best writers out there, and you can use it. So I think for the half of agents, I think it's half, some say it's as low as 25% of agents who are genuinely using AI every single day, play with it. You can't break it. You're not going to break the internet by playing with the AI. So I have to give the tips of pick your favorite system. They're all very good. Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, and others. Pick the one you like. Get it to analyze your writing. So just put your writing in it that you've already written it and get it to analyze your writing style, and then ask it to write in that style in the future. And it'll be closer to how you write. And then you can just tweak it. Never publish anything you've done with AI directly to the internet. Check it, proof it, make it personal. Yeah. But it takes away the blank piece of page, which is really helpful. The second one, which is a bit of a cheat because there's 4 in 1 here, which is, I cannot say enough, is if you do PR, email, social, and direct mail, and you do all 4 consistently and relentlessly, you cannot go wrong. You literally cannot go wrong. If you are talking to a local journalist or local parish magazine, befriending an influencer, using their credibility to get your message across. Email, the most powerful way of getting people to do anything. It still is, and it's just really strong and getting stronger. Social media, we're all on social media. Be on social media. And the joy of the property industry of a estate agency is we literally know where you live. Yeah. We know your address. And this obviously is never going to be public, and you're never going to tell anyone this is. We don't really care who lives there. As long as we know the kind of person and we want to sell that house, we can direct mail it. And then the third one, because I've kind of now managed to get 6 into 3, buy one, get one free, is Net Promoter Score. Okay. One of the things that comes out in the Voice of the Agent survey that we run every year to get like a view of what the industry thinks, recommendation often comes out as one of the most powerful forms of marketing, as you would expect. Net Promoter Score allows you to scale it. Net Promoter Score?
Tell me what it is. Yeah, tell me what it is.
So 2001, Fred Reichelt worked at Bain & Company, was doing a lot of study on what we used to call in those days CSAT, customer satisfaction. And every company was judged on customer satisfaction. Satisfied customers leave. So what Reichelt did very cleverly is he analysed all these metrics to see which one would drive returning customers and loyalty. And it was recommendation. Would you recommend a company? So people can do this on Wikipedia, so I won't explain the full rules, but it's a very simple scale. Would you recommend? Would you not recommend? And those who would recommend give you a very high score to be counted as a promoter. Now, if someone says they would recommend you on a score of 0 to 10, where 9 and 10 class as a promoter, why don't you ask the person who says they'll recommend you to recommend you? And it's as simple as that. You can have a constant feed of people who've had such a good service that would recommend you and ask them to recommend you. And critically, the people who wouldn't recommend you for whatever reason, and I often say this, is it's not often the agent's fault when something goes wrong. Get onto them quickly, make them feel good, and don't let them tell 11 people that they've had a bad experience.
Yeah.
Or in social media times, 11,000 people have had a bad experience.
Yeah.
So you can deal with the detractors, as we call them, and you can get the promoters to work for you and scale word of mouth.
And people could have that set up inside their business as a customer satisfaction score that
exactly
goes to people every time there's an interaction or completion or whatever.
Whenever you think there's a key moment,
yeah.
If you've got a few customers, send it to them all at the end of the process.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got lots of customers, send it to a different sample at different stages to see where things are going wrong.
Okay.
But overall, end of a transaction, send them a survey. Whether good or bad, send them a survey, because you want to head off the negative and accentuate the positive.
Absolutely. I agree. Great tips. Thank you.
Pleasure.
So aside from marketing, and I know this is your special subject.
There is nothing but marketing.
But I want to take you away from that. Aside from marketing, you've previously spoken about the importance of resilience. Now, how important do you feel it is for self-employed agents to have the adaptability and resilience when running their business? And as almost a second part to that, are there strategies that you could recommend that these agents employ to build resilience?
Surround yourself with good people. When you're on your own, you very much are on your own. You take away the corporate kind of, safety net, and you take away the monthly paycheck, it gets very different and very real very quickly, and you will have dark days. I am a massive advocate for self-employment, but it is a challenge. You will wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning feeling you're being dragged along a train or falling down a big building on a quite a regular basis initially. So joining IAD, for example, where you're part of a group as opposed to totally on your own, you're part of a tried and tested model. So there's things that they will tell you and give you and teach you that will really help you. I'd always recommend getting a mentor or a coach, someone who's not necessarily in your field who can talk to you about being in business. Read. Whether you prefer audible and listening while you're jogging or at the gym or whatever, or if you prefer reading the written word, whatever it is, people take information in different ways. Even watch YouTube videos. Gen up on what is going on in the latest thinking. But I think with those things, if you're part of a network, whatever that network is, big fan of IAD, if you've got a mentor on board and you're keeping top of issues, you'll be fine. But if you're struggling, reach out for help. There's things like the Boys Club.
Yeah.
There's Women in a State Agency. There's lots of organisations there where we have a big mental health problem in our industry. I think 1 in 4 people in the UK will have mental health problems a year. I think we're like 40% in our industry.
Wow.
This is a tough job.
Yeah.
I don't underestimate how tough this job is, and I think the best thing you can do if you've got a challenge is reach out for help. Use Agents Together, the mentoring scheme.
Yeah.
They've also got a fantastic resource on their website with all the bodies that, if you're struggling with debt, if you're struggling with marital problems, if whatever it is, you are not alone. And I think as an industry, we need to be better at sharing these resources and giving people access to them. So the second half of the question was,
what strategies could you suggest agents try to help them stay resilient? Outside of the finding a mentor and working with others and reaching out, is there anything else? Because you have given some answers, to be fair. Is there anything else that they could
have a plan? I think one of the best things you can do is write down what you're trying to achieve. So that's, for me, is like, where do I want to be in a year's time? Where do I want to be in 3 years' time? Where do I want to be in 5 years' time? Have a really clear view of what it looks like, and then break it down into parts of how you're going to get there. A quick 2 tips I would always give is divide what you want to earn in a year by 1,680.
1680.
I'm sure it's 1680.
Yep.
How many hours there are in a year? Tell your hourly rate. If you find someone who will do a job that you don't like, who's cheaper than you, get them to do it. Because every time you don't earn that amount of money, you're taking away from your year-end target. So if you know what your hour is worth, make sure every hour you're spending is generating or getting towards generating that money or more. If you're not generating that money in that hour, you can't get that hour back. That money's gone and you're moving away from your year-end targets. The other tip I would say in terms of being genuinely resilient is work on what you love. If you work on what you love, it won't feel like work. So take all the things you do on a list, highlight all the things you don't like doing, and make that the job description of number 2 recruit. Be that a VA, an employee, whatever it happens to be, however you want to structure it, get the things that you don't like doing and give them to people who will probably be cheaper than you, better than you, and they'll enjoy doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how you build resilience.
Good tip. Thank you.
Pleasure.
So during the time leading teams with some of these big businesses that you've worked on, you must have worked on a variety of campaigns. Could you share with us maybe one of the campaigns that you were really proud of running?
Can I have 2?
Yeah.
The first one, it was, I went into Countrywide because Countrywide was in trouble. And we know what happened to Countrywide ultimately. It was lots of individual teams, and actually businesses didn't work together. So we actually got a campaign for the first time in its history to work across all brands, all sectors across the whole country. Massive take up, huge attention to detail. It was a big open house event, but we brought in conveyancing, we brought other things. Now, it had its flaws. I think some of our competitors may have used it to poach our houses. I mean, that may have happened, but scores on the doors, it was the most successful thing we ever did. And it was that about aligning everything we could do, which sort of, while you can't do that if you're an individual, it does lead to the second example where you can do this as an individual. 3 years ago, I was a nobody in this industry. Yeah, I'd had some big jobs, but when I work for a business, I tend to hide behind the business, and my job's to promote the brand, not my personal brand.
Yeah. So
I needed to build my personal brand. Having been in the industry for 5-6 years, no one really knew who I was. So I did some research. I called something called the Voice of the Agent. I researched a few hundred agents, asked them what they thought, turned it into a report, and then set it out. That good response. Year 2, it became a podcast. It became a video show. It became social media streams. It got 300 more responses than the first year. We got 300 responses more the year after. But it was about, like the big open house, it was very much about aligning absolutely everything I did as an individual as they had done everything they did as a company. And it's about having a real concerted effort to get all your activity aligned around selling your message to who you want to reach. I wanted to talk to agents, and the best way I could talk to them was holding a mirror up to them and saying what the overall wisdom of the crowd is, because then I could have a conversation about how they individually were different to the collective. And that gave me a voice in the industry. And hey, it benefits the industry,
yeah,
but I may selfishly have benefited from too.
Of course. And actually the becoming a leading authority in the industry because you've got the research and it's yours.
Yeah, I mean, I like to say, you know, and I know what you think, but I've got 1,029 agents behind me who told me what they think.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, it gives me a level of authority, but it's about giving again. We don't charge anything for it. We don't seek sponsorship for it because then it would render it not neutral.
Yeah.
But it is a big part of our marketing. And I think that's where, if you're a local independent, if you do I'll use this example, the voice of Boxmoor, where I live, be the voice of Boxmoor, survey people in Boxmoor, get views, create an interesting bit of insight over and above what the national bodies do. Show that you are an expert on your local area and share that content. We all care about where we live.
So if somebody wanted to become like known and trusted, which is obviously common phraseology in marketing, obviously that was some of the steps that you took. And I think the trust element is a big part of that in terms of the authority that was given from the report's findings and the data that was created. The voice of Boxmoor is interesting. Is there, to sort of, let's push that a bit further. How could that fit practically for a self-employed agent in an area? How would they become like known and trusted in their area?
So let's take an example I gave earlier about how technology helps you. So creating local area guides, local street guides, local housing guides, sort of housing estate guides. Take every single town has a smaller community of communities within it.
Yeah.
You want to write about each one. Do I live in Hemel Hempstead? No, I live in Boxmoor. Boxmoor is part of Hemel Hempstead, which is part of Dacorum, which is part of Hertfordshire. What am I most interested in? Boxmoor. Yeah. And actually, I'm interested in Woodland Terrace or Gravel Terrace, Woodland Place in Boxmoor. So the locality really matters to me because it's kind of my tribe of where I live. So I would take AI, or if you're a good writer, write it yourself. Write lots of small pocket guides on an area and produce lots of content about that area, and make that freely available online. And the joy of social media, the joy of the internet, is you can share it widely.
Yeah.
Survey people. If you've got an email database, survey people about what people think about the area, what they like about it, what they don't like about it, what the advantages are. So create content about that local area and then give your opinion on top. And then the other side is data is coming out all the time in the property industry. We have the ONS, the Land Registry, Rightmove, Halifax, Nationwide, Zoopla. Every month there's this Bank of England base rates. There is a deluge of content coming out. Plus there's the ONS, census data, tons of data. Most of it people see on a national level. If you can take that data and make it locally relevant and talk with authority, take the national story, make it relevant to Boxmoor, for example, then you will be of interest, and you gain credibility by talking about what other people have talked about who've got credibility, but critically you're making it relevant to the people who matter, the people you want to sell houses for.
It's a bit like
houses for.
Piggybacking authority.
Yeah, it's sort of like a slipstream thing. We call it slipstream. You know, one of the things you can always do, and it's in general social media technique, is if there's an observance day, National Fish and Chip Shop Day, write about National Fish and Chip Shop Day, because the algorithm will be looking for content that is naturally going to get clicks.
Right.
So obviously that's time-based, national whatever day it is. There's religious observances, there's non-religious observances. You know, people love pets, and then there's location. So there's time-based and there's location-based. And again, the joy of this industry, it's probably why I love it and I now can't escape having fallen into it 10 years ago, just under a decade ago, is we literally know where you live. The houses are what we call non-moving consumer goods.
Yeah.
That pile of bricks and mortar is that pile of bricks and mortar, and we want to sell that pile of bricks and mortar. Yeah. So we can target it, we can cultivate it, and the people who live in it will absolutely care passionately about the surrounding piles of bricks and mortar.
Yeah, yeah.
So those kind of things with AI, with taking national content and making it local, surveying your database, surveying people and getting people's views, you will generally get a response to people, and you'll have your own mini voice of Boxmoor.
Yeah. No, I get that. I like that. It's good. There's some great ideas there. So I know you're a passionate believer in the self-employed model and the agencies that are part of that. But there are undoubtedly some challenges coming up for agents and how they navigate this world and how they make the transition into the world, or actually how they get these businesses up and off the ground. What are some of the biggest challenges that you think agents face when starting in business, and how do you think they could overcome them?
So I think one thing you need to recognize when you go into self-employment, it doesn't happen overnight. So have a runway. You know, make sure your significant other is fully aligned with what you're doing, because it's a big risk, but probably the most worthwhile thing you will ever do. And then add value. You can't take value until you've added value to people. And I think what a lot of people are doing is trying to extract from the local area value. And what you need to be doing is not just putting properties on a portal and praying. You need to reinvent and recreate and rebirth the art of agency. You need to show that you know how to do agency better than anyone else. You know, so whatever your rate is, your fee is, say your fee after you've delivered how you will have value, why you're different. Show that you understand that if a property hasn't sold within 6 to 8 weeks, we need to do something else about it. We need to do a price adjustment or something. Have a tiered rate, which is we'll sell it at this rate if we get this price, but everything above that, we will take more. Give them lots of rich information. Talk about the property as an expert. Don't just go, £600,000, let's put it on a portal. Speed to sell is more important than speed to market. So we might want to change that feature wall that you think is very nice, but in reality is hideous. The statues you've got outside are not good. We want to stage this property. I know you'll speak to Elaine at some point, Elaine Penhall from Lemon and Lime, but that really opened my eyes in terms of people literally take terrible photographs and put them on portals. So this is about having the runway. Do it properly, because you've got one chance to make a first impression. Turn up, take your shoes off when you walk in the house. be courteous, add value, discuss the fact that properties are good when they're staged and professionally photographed. Maybe even ask for a marketing fee up front. Get the serious and more committed sellers rather than people just testing.
Yeah.
But the other thing I think you should do is know your worth. Be willing to walk away. If someone wants you to do it at 0.6%, I heard someone doing it for 0.4% the other day, you can't do a proper job. No. You are literally putting property on portals and praying, and it won't work and you'll run out of money very quickly. But it starts back to the point we said about principles of marketing. If you know who your audience is, you know the kind of prices they pay, go to them, show you really understand that kind of property, add value in the conversation, show you're an expert, and you'll do okay.
Yeah.
But embrace technology. That's the other thing.
Okay.
Yeah, don't be a technophobe.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, if your AI is rubbish, you're like, yeah, the first mobile phone was rubbish. The first internet, I had dial-up.
Yeah.
A horrible sound. The
Little
rabbit
blue
that
bar.
appeared one line at a time.
Yeah.
Technology is moving on and on and on. Get to be a bit of a technophile. Adopt it, play with it. You can't break it.
Yeah.
And be comfortable with it. And automate whatever you can. Take the tasks away that you just take you away from speaking to people and selling houses. But I think, back to my first point, I can't overestimate the importance of Runway. Runway, if we hadn't as a business had a Runway, we wouldn't be here now.
Yeah.
It took us longer than we thought, and we had a few bumps on the road. We lost a big client, suddenly you go like, oh, okay, all of a sudden we can't meet next month. We had a Runway to lean on.
Yeah. And runway of cash is essentially what you're talking
about.
Right,
yes, sorry.
Right? Yeah.
Not to take a plane off, but in reality, that's what it's for.
Yeah.
The reason why we call it a runway is planes crash if the runway's too short.
Sure.
That's the reality. A lot of people like to think, Reid Hoffman, the guy who founded LinkedIn, talks about this, is, people think they're going to have a jet fighter or a rocket. They'll launch the business, it'll go straight up, or do one of those fantastic steep climbs that jet fighters do. You'll probably have a Tupolev or Antonov cargo plane that will look like it's never taking off and it'll lumber along the air runway. Or, as Reid Hoffman says, is you're literally building the plane as you throw yourself off a cliff. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So have a runway, give yourself enough time. There's tons of help from government now as well.
Okay.
Apprentices are really good.
Yeah.
To give you some more support, VAs, things like that. So again, it's never been a better time to be self-employed. Never been a better time to be self-employed, but you just need to have a plan.
Brilliant. So you spoke earlier, and I know you're a big reader, a big self-educator, but you've had a long career so far.
I'm not that old, Lee. I'm 21.
I won't even guess. Tell me, is there any memorable stories or lessons that you've learned along the way that you consistently share when asked?
So many. I think the first one I ever got told, which was really important, I probably used it a bit too much, is never be afraid to be fired.
Okay.
Is know your opinion.
And that goes for self-employed agents, right, as well? Because we're all being hired all the time.
Exactly.
In the living room.
100%. It's a day in, day out experience if you're an estate agent. But I think building on don't be afraid to be fired, and actually in this country we sort of turn our nose up a little about failure and redundancy, is don't be afraid to fail. It's about doing video for the first time. It's about trying things out, trying things new. I think the best advice I ever got was fail forward. Is if you fail, the only real failure is you don't carry on and do it again and do something different and try it a different way. You find a way forward by failure. So I think so many people are so scared of failing, they never make a decision. If I go self-employed, what will happen? I might lose my house. I might lose this. I might lose that. This might happen. Yeah, if you're employed, you can be fired too. And if you're a person of a certain age, you will be replaced by a younger person. The only person who can fire me in my current life is me, and I'm not going to do that. So being self-employed makes you unfireable.
Yeah.
So, don't be afraid to be fired. And the joy is once you are self-employed, you don't have to worry about it.
Yep.
Don't worry about failure. All the most successful people in the world fail more than the people who are average.
It's framing, isn't it? I think it's the
framing.
word. We see it as finite. We see it as the end. And actually it's not the end. It's just the journey. It is the way you go.
I'm always nervous of someone who, and there's a guy out there, I like him, good guy, great podcaster. I know him personally. I really like and respect what they did as a business, but they literally struck gold the first time they went into the mine. They had an idea, they launched a business, made millions.
Right.
Never failed. And now they're trying to coach other people how to do business. Now, I think they're teaching a lot of really important lessons. But the reality is they don't know what failure is. It's I think Bailey might shoot me in your team if I say it wrong. Is it the Kobayashi? The Star Trek test.
Right.
When you're at the academy, you basically are given a mission where you cannot win.
Okay.
And Captain Kirk hacks it, so he wins, and he's never known failure. And the point is to teach you how to deal with failure. That if you fail, you've learned something.
Yeah.
The least you've learned is how not to do it. So if you're employed, don't be afraid to be fired. If you are self-employed, don't fear failure. Really don't feel failure. It's just
really
a strengthening thing.
Yeah, I really do. And I do think it's in our own heads of our own language and the way that we construct that language as something that's the end.
What's that? Fear, false evidence appearing real.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love those acronyms. But no, it's a complete, I think mindset's the right thing. It's like fees are a mindset.
Yeah.
Fear and failure is a mindset. And you used to go, you know what? Pick myself up, dust myself on, and get on and do it again.
Yeah, definitely. So my last question.
Is this a big one?
It's a future one. Looking ahead, 3 to 5 years' time, obviously you've got a plan for you and your business. But how do you see our space evolving over the next 3 to 5 years? How do you see house sales evolving with the rise of technology that we're seeing upon us, with the trends that you're seeing through the voice of the agent? What is this industry to become in 5 years' time?
I think it's the
2030.
pattern. I think it's the pattern that all industries go through ultimately. You have a premium group, and I don't mean prime. I mean people who are adding value, and they will be fine. They will be known to be the best at what they do. They add huge value in conversations. They're really enriching the way they do things, and they achieve better results than everyone else. And there's commoditization. There's the commodity side. Ultimately, what will happen is there'll be a race to the bottom at the bottom end. This isn't that positive, really. It's not a great way to end this. Why have you asked this question? This is really depressing now. But I think AI will replace a lot of jobs.
Okay.
And ultimately, once you can get AI to do all the work for you, to get you onto a portal, to do everything you need to do, to arrange the viewings and everything's digital. I mean, it's here. It's happening already. It just isn't widely adopted. As an agent, where do you add value? If you don't add value, you're dead.
Yeah.
And therefore, the real thing you can do, part of self-employment is part of that adaptability. High street agents need to do it too. What are they using that high street for? There's thousands of pounds worth of ambient space there, outdoor advertising with their storefronts. Some people still like bricks and mortar. Use it, but use those as your strength. But ultimately, technology will always be disruptive. It will take away some of the jobs we take for granted. And I think we will have an elite who, at all levels of the market, the housing market, are genuinely superstars at estate agency and lettings. I mean, they are absolutely loved. They're media companies in their own right for their local community.
Yeah.
And I think that'll be good for those who survive, challenging for those who don't keep up.
But I think that's where their point of difference is going to arise against the repetitive tasks is being able to add value through service, through difference, through expertise in that market.
And share of wallet. Once you've sold someone's house, if you have a relationship with them, there's other things you can do for them.
Yeah.
You can continue to add value to them about what's going on with the property market. People need insurance. People need other services beyond that. People need home buying, home moving and home buying as well. They have kids. You can create a real relationship above transactional and add value. But you need to really work at it. If you want to just take your money and walk away, AI will do that for you.
Yeah. I totally agree. And like you say, it's 5 years away max, isn't it? Right. So
it's all accelerate. I mean, every generation of AI gets so much better, and at some point, Skynet and Terminator will arrive, and we'll all start working for robots. On that happy note.
Until then.
Until then.
Brilliant. Well, look, it was a great conversation, mate. Thank you. It was I tried to make it wide ranging and cover off a few things that are a bit different for you, but I really, really appreciate your time and expertise and continued support. Thank you very much.
Absolute pleasure, Lee.
Cheers.
Take care.